want to go over and see what that woman's saying. Snip over and have a look.
Okay.
Sorry.
Addressing the issues underpinning the case before this is going to happen to anybody else. That's an interesting question. I think I'd maybe be a bit emotional because this has been such a long and involved process for everybody involved. I think I'd be inclined to just give him some space and some privacy with his family for some time and then reach out and see how we can support his brother because there are issues now that could be addressed as to how he's been treated over the years. There are things that can still be done. This case is far from over. And again, the underpinning issues here really have to be addressed. The espionage act in the U.S. lacks the public interest defense, so anybody that would find themselves targeted in the way Julian Assange has been targeted would go to jail. There's no way that a journalist, a publisher, or a source can defend themselves. In the UK, the Official Secrets Act also lacks the public interest defense, so there are legal protections that are needed to ensure that this can't happen again. So that's it. But I think I would just immediately be happy for him and hope that he can go home and see his partner and his children and start to recover.
Has this been quite emotional for you?
So it's a professional case, and I've been working in human rights for 15 years, and obviously my interest in this case is professional, but when you become so embattled to even be able to do your job, yes, it becomes a bit emotional. We have been through hell trying to just access this case. So in February at Portsmouth Court, in September at the Old Bailey, even here today, I don't know if I'll get in, and this is the first day that I haven't been out here queuing for hours myself. Family put me on their list, but it's really made us dig our heels in and fight for this because it's clear that this court didn't want us here, didn't want these proceedings to be scrutinized, had no respect for the role of NGO observers. So yeah, that made it a bit more personal because I had to fight for our right to do our jobs. But it was completely worthwhile. It was really important that we document what has happened here, even the access issues. These are barriers to open justice. And that also has longer lasting implications. This shouldn't be the case in the UK. Any proceedings should be open to scrutiny by the public, by professional NGO observers, and by the media. So yeah, not personal in the way that I don't know Mr. Assange. I've gotten to know his family a bit and others very close in the case, and I wish them the best. They have been through a hell that I cannot imagine. But yeah, we stick with this no matter what. So at the moment in Belmarsh Prison, I'm just keeping an eye to see if they'll let me in. At the moment in Belmarsh Prison, the situation is alarming. So he has been nearly continuously confined to the cell for several weeks now as COVID infections have been sharply on the rise in his block of the prison. So remember that he has respiratory issues as well. So he's actually quite highly at medical risk. Also, the mental health issues that we heard detailed extensively on Monday, those have been exacerbated by this period of detention. And every day that he remains behind bars, that will be more and more the case. So there are health risks, there are mental health risks, and then as a matter of principle, he should not spend another day behind bars. He should not be deprived of his liberty unjustly for a single moment longer.
And can I ask a slightly more general question? What do you think about the UK government and Metropolitan Police targeting journalists who don't have a government fund?
So on Monday, I had quite some experiences with the police myself, but I want to clarify, I am not a journalist, I am an NGO observer, and we have a role to play. We do this in lots of countries around the world. This court has not respected that role, which is why I have to fight my way into the public gallery, and it turns out that the police also do not respect that role. So on Monday morning, we were there around like 4:30 in the morning to queue for the public gallery. I had to justify our presence to police about a dozen times. I had to show them RSF press releases, an email exchange with the judge, and continuously negotiate for them to not just force us out. We were told several times by police that the public gallery would be closed, which was not true. They told us to go home. They told us that we faced possible arrest if we didn't go home. So we stood our ground. But had I listened to police I wouldn't have been able to do my job on Monday and bear witness to this historic extradition decision. And then after court, at one point, they allowed people to do media interviews for some time, but I was about to go live with Al Jazeera, and they became very aggressive with me in that moment. Somebody posted a video of that, one of the activists captured
I've
it,
seen that.
just trying to move me along. I was literally like a few seconds from going live, and being really aggressively pursued by police until I stepped out of the area that they decided they needed to clear. And they were saying to journalists all around us, "It's okay, you're working." I was also working, and that was not a lockdown yet. That was tier 4, and we were allowed to be out for work purposes, as I am here today. This morning, the police are being quite calm, I have to say, which is a nice turn from Monday. But you know, it's all of us. I do understand that there are public health risks, of course, and I respect lockdown, and I have been working from home quite a lot myself. But this is so important. This case is overwhelmingly in the public interest internationally, and we have a job to do. So I was ready to be arrested. They didn't arrest me, but it was not pleasant. And I am considering. I've actually consulted a solicitor about filing a complaint with how we were treated on Monday by police.
Yeah.
May I ask a question? Did they actually physically push you?
No, they did not. But it was quite aggressive because there were lots of them. It was clearly intended to be intimidatory, not just to me, to many activists. And I think they did move some of the activists along. I was first in the queue for the public gallery, so I was not moving. I was not going anywhere. I just stood there, and they did not move forward more aggressively. But they were giving us incorrect information. It is not a police matter who gets access to judicial proceedings.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous,
Yeah.
and that was false. Because I had indication. Had I not had that correspondence with the judge about the public gallery, I don't believe that they would have, been as hands-on. But I stated afterwards, that was the first time in my 15-year human rights career that I've ever been threatened with arrest for trying to get into a court to do my job. In any country, and we go to lots of countries that are far more authoritarian than the UK. So yeah, that was quite shocking. To be honest. So I'm waiting to find out. So this is the first time I have not come and queued for hours myself to try to access the public gallery, but it was because Julian Assange's family was kind enough to put me on their list. And at the moment, the court officials were stating that they were going to check with the legal team that I was indeed on that list. But I'm not feeling confident right now, to be honest with you. But I spent 5 hours in the winter cold on Monday morning and dealt with the police, and I couldn't do it again this morning. So I'm hoping that they will honor the family's wishes here today and let me in. And if not, we're still here in spirit, and we've followed every step of this so far. So I'm hoping today will be a good outcome.
What do you think it's going to go? How do you think it's going to go today?
It's really hard to say. I have mixed feelings. So on Monday, I really expected the worst and was pleasantly surprised because as it was unfolding, it seemed that the decision would be for extradition, and it only took a turn for the better at the very end.
Yeah.
So my gut instinct on Monday was far more negative than right now. Right now, I think honestly 50-50 if I had to guess. It would be extremely harsh for the judge to keep him detained with the serious mental health issues that she outlined on Monday. So we now know this court recognizes these issues, right? Yeah. Those issues will be exacerbated by any prolonged detention. So it would be hard for her, I think, to justify keeping him detained. But, she's been very harsh at other steps of this. So she has denied bail twice before, and sometimes even small decisions that could have made a big difference to Julian Assange, she has ruled against him. So, for example, in February, when his legal team appealed for him to be able to be moved to the glass dock at the back of the courtroom and sit with his lawyers in the well of the court, she found against that. There was no really good reason for that. He's not a violent criminal. He's not a terrorist. Those are the sorts of people who are normally held in glass cages during trials. So, I don't know. She has been very harsh, but she surprised me on Monday. I think we're always prepared for the worst and always hoping for the best. And if he's not released today, it will be even more clear that a political solution is needed to this, because this was a political case all along. So at any point, the U.S. government could choose to drop this case. It's clear that the UK government is not willing to take a political stand in favor of press freedom and journalism. So it's on the US. But remember, in a couple of weeks, we will have a new presidential administration there, and we don't know yet how Biden will approach this case. There are many arguments to be made for him to break from Trump's legacy and drop this.
Yeah.
So that's what we will hope. So I think we will turn to US government focus as to see if the court doesn't rule in favor of release today.
Yeah. How's this? So no.
What do you think that the users that tune in this space, that the new space learn about here, say about general freedom in the UK?
It's been a real shocking experience for me, to be honest. I have monitored other trials in this country, but never anything with such tremendous interest where it was journalists in other countries, including this year. So some of this is due to COVID restrictions, and that's worth bearing in mind. And I understand the need to restrict numbers, but that's why the court should actually accredit NGO observers as they would journalists, so that we can just do our job as professionals. They haven't done that, so that actually creates a more unsafe situation with crowding and queuing for hours and all of these things. The court could have prevented that. There is a cloud video platform. They have revoked access for NGOs and political observers to that platform, so the only way that we can follow what's going on is to do this, is to get in. So I don't know. I think there are lessons to be learned here. I will certainly be taking our experience to some in government here and possibly filing a complaint about the police treatment, in particular on Monday, because that crossed the line, I felt. But I would expect, the UK is a modern democracy. The UK is supposed to adhere to principles of open justice and respect the right to a fair trial, and the ability for proceedings to be scrutinized by media, by NGO observers, by the public is really crucial to ensure those rights, those freedoms. So, yeah.
What are some, could you just repeat your organisation where people can find more information?
Sure. So I work for Reporters Without Borders, which is known internationally as Reporters Sans Frontières. Check out our website, rsf.org. We've got a lot of information about this case, including our observations from February, from September, our comment the other day. We'll have a comment out on what happens today, even if I don't get in. But yes, I've been tweeting too, so find me on Twitter, and we'll stick with it. We'll stick with the appeals process, and we will continue to advocate for Mr. Assange's rights and region, and for the underpinning issues here, because this again was always about press freedom. It was always about journalism, and so the targeting of Mr. Assange in this way, this ordeal he has faced for 10 years, has serious implications already. Even if he is let go today, the implications will be still long-lasting. This has already had a chilling effect on reporting for years, especially national security reporting. So we need to now find ways to begin to repair that damage and to ensure better protections for journalists in the US, the UK, and internationally.
What's your opinions on how the press has actually treated Julian in the past?
It's a massive question.
Very long 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And there's been various phases of popular support for him and then not. One thing that I will say is the deeper that I became involved in this case, the many levels of misperceptions became apparent. And I found that many skeptics, many people who felt that they were against Julian Assange, even if they claimed to support press freedom and freedom of expression, some things about the case that they believed to be true simply weren't, or had been misrepresented.
Yeah.
The deeper I got involved in this, it did seem to me to be deliberate, and I don't necessarily want to blame the media, but there seems to be a deliberate attempt to portray him in a certain light, because if he was seen as unlikable, there was less public sympathy for him, and therefore less public pressure on the states involved. So that allowed the US and UK governments to get away with what is a political prosecution. I do think as well that the publics in the UK and US in particular had difficulty accepting that their states were capable of this, because we're all inclined, the way that we're raised, the way that we are brought up, is to see our institutions in good faith, to believe that our democracy works, that our checks and balances will not fail us. But those of us who have worked in more authoritarian parts of the world saw this case for what it was. This always felt political. This very much feels like cases I've worked on in countries much further down our World Press Freedom Index. So it was unhelpful that it became so much about Julian Assange's personality and about all of these other things. But it was always worth bearing in mind what these specific proceedings were about. And even if somebody has decided that they didn't like him for whatever reason, why does that matter? Why do we only defend cases of people that we decide fit our particular, vision of what we like or don't like, especially when we don't know the person involved? Most of the people who have these opinions have never met him, have never had that experience. So a lot of these opinions were really deep formed. It might have been a snap judgment based on headlines 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and so that was really unhelpful. So as a campaigner, that was one of the hardest challenges, was countering those deep-seated beliefs that people had. Normally my challenge in cases that we take up is getting the case known, getting it out there, making sure people are aware. But this case was different because nearly everybody knew this case, or thought they knew and understood this case, and it was in a question of having to change minds. I was encouraged by the reactions on Monday, which I think show that people now do understand that this case is about journalism and press freedom. I would have preferred to not feel so alone and attacked at times for defending this case, but now I think times are changing, and I hope now that we can see greater solidarity going forward, so that the next time this happens, because this will happen again, we will see more examples others who are reporting on classified information and things that states want to keep hidden. So this will happen again, and I hope that this will be a lesson learned for the international community.